Good morning, everyone. Today we'll discuss Project Integration Management Knowledge Area, which is based on PMP 6th edition. So we'll discuss this whole knowledge area with, we'll divide this knowledge area into multiple videos, and this is the first part of this video series. So let's start it. Let's start with the introduction. What do we understand when we say Project Integration Management Knowledge Area? As we have mentioned here, all processes which are required to integrate the project are part of this knowledge area. Yes, it's that simple. You might be overwhelmed with the information which are there in this with respect to project integration management knowledge area. There are multiple theories, there are multiple informations, there are multiple overdoses of here and there bits and pieces of information and all. So it's obvious that people, especially the new aspirants, people who have just started to understand project management, they usually get overwhelmed with these ideas. Okay, what is it? What is not? What are the processes comes under it? Why it is that this big, and etc. etc. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple and just understand this point that anything we do to manage the project, anything we do to initiate the project, anything we do to close the project, everything we do to monitor and control the project, and all the stuffs we do to manage the project, and all the stuffs we do to unify, identify, collaborate the project, everything comes under integration management knowledge area. So whenever you think about integration management knowledge area, always think from the perspective of a project manager. Always try to think from the perspective of project management team, because the sole goal of this knowledge area is to deliver the project as a whole. Its responsibilities include to balance between various things. Its responsibilities include to coordinate, to intercommunicate, to communicate to external teams, right? So each and everything, whatever we are doing to manage things. So we have mentioned a few things, few responsibilities, and what are the tasks and etc. Let's go this one by one. So if you see to the left of the screen, we have mentioned a few points: identify, define, combine, unify, coordinate. So these are the nature of the tasks we are going to perform under this knowledge area. We have to identify things, we have to define things, we have to define parameters, we have to combine multiple things, we have to unify them, and the most important part, we have to coordinate them, right? So these tasks comes under this kind of, you can categorize them as unification, consolidation, communication, interrelationship. So these two things are not that much different, just a different way of representing, right? And at the below bottom of the screen, we have given some of the tasks which, as a manager, you are going to perform as part of this knowledge area. So resource allocation, balancing competing demands. Balancing competing demands is the most important part in this chapter. So because there will be multiple teams involved in the project, there will be multiple stakeholders, there will be various needs of multiple stakeholders, there will be various demands. There will be demands from your internal organization, there will be demands from outside the organization, there will be demands from each and every stakeholder which are involved in the project, right? But as a project management team or project manager, your responsibility is to balance those demands. You cannot just leave these demands, create a havoc in your project, right? stakeholder A is saying I need this, stakeholder B is saying I need this, and multiple people are saying I need this, that, right? As a project manager, it's your duty to balance them. Until and unless you can create a proper balance among all these demands, your project is not going to be successful. So that's why this task is the most important part of your, not even in this knowledge area, but the entire project management and project life cycle. Then examining any alternative approaches, which is quite obvious, right? Look, in today's world, the things change rapidly, isn't it? So if you go back a decade or even 5 to 8 years back, mostly the projects were done in a proper traditional methods, that means you planned, then you executed. And only a few things change, right? But this is not the case in today's world. In today's world, things will keep changing, right? Your demands will get changed, market conditions, environmental factors will change. So you should be always in the lookout for alternative approaches, right? And why should we do that? Why should we look out for alternative approaches? The main reason being, the approach or the way of working you thought about a month back may not work a month after, because of various conditions, because of various changing factors, isn't it? And then the approach you have taken, you may understand that if we keep taking this approach, our project budget may go up, or we may fall behind our schedule. So a remedy of those situations, you have to constantly keep looking for alternative and better approaches. Fine. Then tailoring the processes to meet the project objectives. Yes. So we cannot follow a set of standard processes for all projects in the world, right? So depending upon your geography, depending upon the type of project, depending upon the industry you are working on, depending upon the domain you are involved in, depending upon your customers, etc., many other factors, many other environmental, enterprise environmental factors, you have to tailor your processes. That means you have to make a decision which of the standard processes you are going to adopt as it is, and which of the standard processes you are not at all going to use, and what are the things that you can do some modification according to your needs and you can use, right? So tailoring part is an important part. Some decisions has to be taken. You have to use your experience. You have to use the experience from other entities in your organization or in that field. But we have to do whatever we have to do, but we have to make the processes adapted to our situations, adapted to our culture of the organization, adapted to the the environment where we are working on. Okay. Then the last point, managing the interdependencies among the project management knowledge areas. Yes. So we have 10 project management knowledge areas, including this one, right? One of the major responsibilities of the project manager is to balance between all these different project management knowledge areas. Excuse me. So what does that mean is, we have to think about cost, schedule, quality, stakeholder, everything. Okay. We have to think about all these knowledge areas in an intercorrelated way, right? That means if you are going to do some changes on the cost part, you also have to think about the impact of that change into other knowledge areas like schedule or quality, etc. Okay. So these interdependencies among these different knowledge areas has to be managed well as part of this integration knowledge area. As we already mentioned, everything we do as part of this knowledge area, this is nothing but to integrate everything, to manage everything, balance between various things, etc., right? So that's about the introduction of the knowledge area. Let's go ahead now, and we will try to see what are the different processes which are going to be performed as part of this knowledge area. Here are 7 processes which are included as part of this knowledge area. The first one is develop project charter. The second one is develop project management plan. Now, when we discuss about one by one about these processes, let's try to discuss and let's try to understand under which process groups these processes come. We all know, right? We all know that all the processes in project management are grouped under certain process groups, namely initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, total 5 process groups. So while we are discussing these various processes under this knowledge area, we need to understand under which process group each process comes. Let's talk about develop project charter. So in develop project charter, what we do is we develop the project charter, and what the project charter does, once the project charter is formally approved, that is the formal initiation of the project. So having said that, now just try to understand under which process group this process should come under. So since this is a task which is related to initiating the project, this process comes under initiating. Okay. The next one is develop project management plan. Develop project management plan comes under planning process group because this is all about the planning of the whole project. We will go in detail of to each and every one of these processes. In this page, we are just discussing how each and every process, fall under some particular process groups. Then the third process is direct and manage project work. Okay. So direct and manage project work, in this part of the process, we execute it. We execute the project. We try to produce the deliverable, which is the goal of the project. Right? So that's why this comes under executing process groups. Then comes manage project knowledge. Manage project knowledge is nothing but managing the knowledge you have in your project, trying to create new knowledge and try to reuse your existing knowledge, etc., etc. So this also comes under executing process group because you are actually doing something in this process. Then comes monitor and control project work. Monitor and control project work is nothing but the activities you perform to check whether your project is going well, whether your project baselines are intact, whether the reports which are coming out of your various processes are in line with your expected results, etc., etc. And if something goes wrong, or if you think that something may go wrong, you can take some corrective or preventive actions. So this monitoring and control project work comes under monitoring and control process groups. So now while we are discussing this slide, you may get confused between the process names and the process groups. For example, this monitor and control project work itself is a process, and we have another process groups which is monitoring and controlling, isn't it? So these differences we will discuss in detail when we go to the specific process in our subsequent slides. Okay. Then the sixth process is perform integrated change control. So in perform integrated change control, we basically takes care about the change requests that have been raised in the project, and how we are going to check each and every impact of those changes, how we recursively analyze the changes, etc., etc. What are the decisions that to be taken, then what are the communications that needs to be done. So all the stuffs are done as part of perform integrated change control, and that's why perform integrated change control comes under the process group monitoring and control. Okay. The last one is close project or phase. This is simple. So whatever tasks or activity we need to do as part of closing the project. This comes under this process, and that's why the process comes under closing process group. Okay. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the 7 processes which comes under integration knowledge area, right? So this is all about the introduction of project integration knowledge area. This video will stop here, will not go further. The subsequent video will take 3 or 4 processes from this knowledge area, and we will discuss in detail each one of them. So until then, just have a look, go through these knowledge areas, and if you have any queries or any confusion, which will anyways go from scratch, but it's better if you can accumulate whatever confusions or clarification you need from your prior knowledge, right? So basically, look, whenever we are doing some study, along which we learn something, it's also better we unlearn something. Okay, because I understand that many people, they gather information as part of their preparation. They gather information, and some source of this information might not be correct, so, and some source of the information may give confusing informations. So that's why along which we learn something new in this series of tutorials, we also try to unlearn whatever confusing things you have learned so far, right? For example, many people have this confusion between monitoring and control process group versus monitor and control project work. So we are going to discuss this minute difference in detail. Okay, so until then, thank you so much for attending this session, and we're just closing it now. Bye bye.